In this video, you're going to be building eBay Web 3.0 dApp using Infura on the Ethereum blockchain. We're going to use Rainbow Kit to connect our Metamask to the entire application, and we're going to be using Web3.js to interact with our custom Solidity contract deployed using Infura. And you're going to be able to list and sell your items, and others will be able to come over and buy those items from you using Ethereum with this app. So with that said, let's just jump straight into it.
All right, let's get straight into the eBay clone and let's build this thing. So what I got in front of me is basically a terminal ready to execute some stuff. All right, so I'm going to type in npx programmer, which is our custom built CLI tool just for you. Now I'm going to type in my email address here, and let's see what else do we got. After, I'll put in my name and then just hit eBay. Now what's going to happen is, you don't see it because it's on my other screen, but it basically opened up an Infura link, and you want to definitely use this specific Infura link that this opened up, because this will give you a bunch of perks. Now, I personally already have an account with Infura, so I'm just going to sign in. But if you don't have an account yet, you want to definitely create a new one with right here, because it's going to give you a couple of perks. And as you can see, I created this eBay clone project. Now the way I did it is up here, there's this create new key thingy, which I just zoomed into for no apparent reason. Actually, it's pretty cool. So you want to select Web3 API, formerly Ethereum, and then just give it whatever name, my eBay project. And it's gonna be like, yo, you have too many projects. So I'm just going to hit cancel, but this is literally what I'm gonna get. Now, in here, once you open it, you want to hit manage key right there, or it will show you this screen immediately. And you want to go ahead and copy this API key. This will be one of the most important things throughout this build. So if you don't do anything, just go ahead and copy this key and then you should be good. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, regardless, copy that guy. Yup, see, copied it. And very conveniently, our CLI tool has just finished downloading this project. So that's cool. What you can do now is definitely you want to check for node modules in here in the root folder, and then down in the, next app folder. So if you have those two node module folders, you're probably very likely ready to go. Now what you want to do is inside of next app, create a new file and call it .env.local. That is .env.local. Now what you want to do is type in Infura. And let me actually make this a little bigger. That's what she said. Yeah, it should be good. So what you want to type in is Infura _ API _ key, not key or whatever. And then just paste whatever key you got there. Now, you want to also definitely keep this as a secret, because it's a secret. And this is not going to work by the time you're watching this. You can try though. And if anybody gets access to your API key, so this is your warning by the way, so if anybody gets access to your API key, they will be able to use your Infura account, which in turn might charge you if you are subscribed to paid services, or just run all your free stuff out. So there's that. Now once we've done this, so once you open up the terminal, and you should probably see it, keystrokes that I'm recording. So what you can do here is go ahead and type in cd next-app, and that will basically just navigate you in here. So your terminal is going to be inside that folder. And now here you want to type in yarn dev, meaning yarn dev. And that should have technically opened or started this tunnel for you. And what I'm gonna do is just make things a little more convenient. And if you pop it into your Chrome, congratulations, you have the front end ready to go. And this is what we're gonna be using to build on top of after our coffee break. Okay, this is the time to take another coffee break and go ahead and get started working on our contract. So with that said, go ahead and go into your contracts folder, and inside there's this ebay.sol file. Then you want to come in here, and this is basically a pre-made contract that is ready for you. All right, so what can we do here? So basically, let's just go ahead, hide this terminal because we're not going to need it for a little bit. And what we're going to be doing is, let's just actually go ahead and start creating our objects, structs, whatever, mappings and stuff like that. That's interesting. I have the solution on my other screen and it doesn't look any of like that, but I can imagine a scenario when GitHub Copilot just puts all the developers out of their job. Ew, okay. All right. So let's go ahead and create a struct that will be called product. Now, that will have a couple of props in there. So what are they? We will have a address, which is going to be the buyer's address. So the person who buys the product, that'll be the buyer. And then there's gonna be another address, which is, it's gonna be the seller. Now, we're gonna have a uint, which is gonna be the ID of the product itself. And we're gonna have a price, correct? And we're going to have another uint, which will be rating these products. Okay, I put a comma because my error linter was wasn't happy about the semicolon, but okay. All right, let's do it that way then. So then we're going to have a couple of strings here. We're going to have a name. We're going to have a description. We're going to have a category like that, and we're going to have an image URL. Nice. So it's nicely formatted now. And next up, what we're going to be doing is also, we're just like out in the wild, out in the nothingness, the wilderness. We're going to have a other uint, which will be product counter. Yeah, uint 256 uint. It's basically the same thing. I'm just a lazy person, so I sometimes write uint, but yeah. Anyways, moving on. You want to definitely map all the products, and you want to map these product counter thingies. So once again, uint to a product, and we'll be calling it, this will be a public thing. This mapping will be called products. All right, next up. Let's go actually just straight up jump into it, and let's go ahead and create a new product. List that guy, all right? So it's going to be list new product, right? And we will have to pass in a couple of things here. So first of all, we're going to need a name. And this is the time when we're going to start introducing all these like underscores and stuff like that and memory. Next up, we're going to have a description that we pass in. Then we're gonna have a category that we pass in, and an image URL. That's smart. That's actually pretty intelligent. I don't know where my formatting went, but there it is. You also want to definitely pass in the price of the item, price, like that. And you also want to pass in the rating of the item. And don't leave any trailing commas. What's up with my prettier, dude? All right, there we go. Okay. So apparently, so my prettier apparently doesn't work as long as the function itself is has syntax errors, which is actually smart. All right, now you also want to make this a public function because you want to definitely make sure that whoever is interacting with the app is going to be able to call this function. So now with that, we're pretty good. Now, next up, what we're gonna do is, we'll do that eventually at some point. So next up, what you're going to do is we'll be creating a new instance of the product struct that we just did up here. All right, so this is just a definition of the product struct, and just defines what are each and every single one of, what kind of traits will each and every single product have. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say product memory, because from the memory we're doing things, and it will be a new product. And this is a declaration, and this will be a type product. And so in here, we're going to pass in an object. Now, we will be having a buyer who's going to be address 0. All right, so let's take a look at that, what this actually is, because this is some sort of basic default address that's just a placeholder. So let's take a look at what Father Google says, especially if I was able to type it correctly, meaning in Solidity. And so there you go. The 0 count is just a special use case to indicate that the new contract is being deployed. So basically what we're going to be using that in this case is just like a placeholder. That's literally what it means, what it's going to default back to. So this is not nobody owns this one, is what I'm trying to say. So when you put an item out for sale, there's no actual factual product. It's kind of like if it's at 0, but because that's not an address, like you gotta do it this way. All right, there we go. So like seller, that's going to be the message sender, meaning the person who pops open their MetaMask and puts out a new item for listing. And we're going to have a ID, which is going to be the product counter, and then we're going to have a price. And from now on, we basically match all these to these guys, but like down here. So if that was weird, just watch me and you'll understand a little bit what I meant. So like rating is gonna be rating, and then you're going to have name, it's gonna be name, and then you're gonna have description, it's gonna be description, category, you're like yada yada. And now we just close that guy, remove the excess stuff, and let's see what the issue is. So this is product identifier not found. Oh, well, it would be helpful if I would type without typos. So product. All right, cool. Function state mutability restricted to view. That's completely fine as of right now, because right now we're not like, I don't get it why it says that, but it will go away in a little bit. Don't even worry about these warnings. Warnings are not even legit. So next up, what you're going to do is you're going to say products. The product counter is going to be new product. So what did I just do? So this will be the mapping. All right. So product counter is going to be, we literally have a product counter that starts from 0, and that will be the index. So that will be the ID, and we'll be indexing through all these products. So what we do now is we're going to have a tuple, or like an array of tuples or whatever, a mapping. All right, I'm just trying to like be fancy with all these words. Basically, so we're going to be creating a mapping that will map all these new products, these guys, to each product counter. Does it make sense? So like we're gonna have 1 first product, 2 second product, yada yada. Once we build out the entire thing, it'll like all come together and you will understand what I'm talking about. And then obviously you wanna increase the product counter, because initially it starts out at 0, and then the next, if you didn't do that, then, and you added like a second product, that's supposed to depict that you repeat the same step. Drawing skills on point. So if you leave product counter at 0, but you don't step it up, the next product is going to be still stored at 0, which is obviously not ideal. So you want to like step it. That should be able to pretty much be enough for now. Let's actually do one more thing, which is going to be a really quick one. So I just want to like create a new function we call get number of products, which is just going to be like a nicer naming of something we could already do. Because like whenever you define a variable, under the hood, there's going to be a caller view function created for it like immediately. Anyways, we're just gonna make it nice anyways, and we're just going to create a call function. So that will return a uint, and where's the T? There's the T. And then we're just going to literally return this guy back, and that'll be basically what we will get started with. Now, in a previous video, and probably we suggested a couple times, but let's go ahead and go into our extensions, and you want to download Ethereum Remix. So this is the guy that we are going to be using. This is basically Remix IDE baked into your VS Code. If you know what Remix IDE is, this made a lot of sense to you. If you don't know what Remix IDE is, I just saved you a ton of headache and copying code, so don't even worry about it. Just get it. This is Remix IDE for you. All right. Let's go ahead and click that bad boy. So that will be Remix IDE's icon once you install it. And before you do anything, you just want to make sure that the compiler version, which you can set right here, it currently doesn't have any kind of value. So what you want to make sure is that there's 0816. So you want to go ahead and select that guy. And now you see it says 0816. How cool is that? All right, let's make this small again. Okay. And so now you want to click run and deploy, and then just hit activate, and that will basically spin up this thing. Now it also spins up your output, but we're just gonna put that out of the way. So what's happening here? There's a couple of things that are going on. So if you go back to Infura and head back right into your project, and then you hit manage key over there, and then here you select, you can go with mainnet, but that's going to cost you a ton of money. So I would just recommend going with Goerli and then copying this guy, and then you can paste this RPC URL here. Now that'll help you when you're deploying and when you're like finished with the app. Now when it comes to deploying to testnet, it takes a little longer time. So instead what we're going to be using is not this, but what we're going to be using is if you go to trufflesuite.com/ganache, and then you go ahead and download this guy right here, that will download an application to get in Ganache installed, all right? And then once you install it, this will come up. Obviously we'll have no workspaces. So what that means is you can just hit quick start, or if you've been already using it, you just click whatever workspace you got, and you want to copy this RPC server. All right, so that's what you want to copy, and then go back to your VS Code and place it right here, and then hit connect. And so when you first connect your Ganache to this whole thing, this is what it will look like. And so down here it's going to say network is local or custom, just like it does it here. It's like cool stuff. All right, you can also, if you press Command Shift P and then you start typing in secondary, you can open up this secondary sidebar thing. You can just pop that output window right there, and that way you can close the things down there, and then just pull it out wide so you are going to be seeing everything. Now what you want to do is you want to have your ebay.so file open on the left hand side or like somewhere, and then just make sure you selected that. Actually, don't really have other options, but just in case you do, you want to select the correct one, and then just hit compile. Let's see what it does. Let's see what it says. Let's see if our contract is good to go and ready to be deployed, and compilation finished. So that's cool. And now what you can do is hit deploy, and it is already deployed to your local blockchain Ganache thingy. So that's actually pretty good. All right, and so here are all the functions that you can do. So as I said before, so there we go. Now when you call this get number of products, it's going to say 0. Oh, interesting. So I'm just going to go ahead and clear this output so it's going to be nice and clean. And so whenever you call this get number of products that we just defined somewhere in this contract, it'll return 0, meaning we don't have a single piece of product. That's fine. Let's go ahead and create one. So we're going to give it a name, my first product. One thing, you don't ever press Command A in here. If you do, the whole screen is going to turn into this grayish thing and you have to restart. Remix, that's a bug, I would guess. Probably that's what it is. Don't tell me I didn't warn you. Next up, you want to put a description in. So product description. You know what? I'm just gonna go with some dummy stuff. So I'm just gonna type in description, category. It doesn't really matter for now because we're just testing. Image URL. Now you would think that, oh my God, where am I gonna get an image URL from? Don't worry about it. It's just a simple string. So you can just type in img URL, cool, and then ask for price. Now, for now, you're gonna get away with typing in 1 or something like that, but later on you don't really want to do it because then it will cost an entire Ethereum, so just keep that in mind. And for rating, obviously it's a 5 out of 5, so that's pretty cool. All right, so once you hit transact, which basically means like post it or like put it onto the blockchain, what you will see is a bunch of like addresses, gas used, and if it like doesn't look super weird, it like naturally feels good, your developer instincts tell you that there's no error in here, there's probably no error in here. And another way to check that we're correct, and probably this is the better way to do it without having to listen to your instincts, is, I'm just trying to find the optimal window stuff. So I'm just gonna delete it again or clear the output again. And if you hit get number of products, it should say 1. Did I just write a perfect contract in here? And if I was to put in 0, that should, hey, there you go. Oh my God, look at that. So that's the mapping. That's the mapping. So remember when I said, maybe I haven't said it, but remember when I said it or didn't say it, that mappings create their own call functions? So that's why we only created a get number of products thing, right? So when you create a simple variable, that doesn't create a call function under the hood, but mappings do. And so here what we did is we know that the first product that we put in there is because we're developers, we start counting from 0. 0, 1, 2, 3. This is how we count. Now, first product that we put in there, it has an ID of 0. So this will be waiting for a 0. Just the product counter again. Just put that guy in there, call it, and then you get back everything that is that you've just saved into your product. Now, here's everything. Let's all right. So with that said, it is time we go ahead and create a function that will allow our users to purchase these items that are listed. So purchase, I think that's how you write it. Item, nice. And that will actually be waiting for a UID ID. So we'll have to pass in the ID. Now, this is going to be a public payable, and payable just means that, oh, you gotta, like, there's going to be factual transactions going on in there. So you gotta basically enable all these functions for the function. I realized that sounded a little weird, but that's what it is. Now, right in here, what we're going to be doing is we're going to require a couple things. So what I mean by requiring a couple things is we need a couple of guard functions, or guard clauses is what I meant. And that happens with the require keyword. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So what we're going to need is message.sender. We want to double check the price, obviously, that it's the correct price that's being sent. So if the message sender, no, not the message value, is less than, no, equals or more. Actually, we should go with equals. Products.id. So here's the tricky thing. Let's actually just generate the product instance in it. So we're going into the product, and then we're gonna say storage. And then we're gonna say product again, because this is just gonna be a local instance of the product itself, all right? And then we're just gonna say products ID. What did I just do? There's a lot of products. I'm gonna go again to the mapping, that's products, and then check for the ID that's being passed in, and then I'm just storing that in here. And this is literally just the type of that variable, and storage is that, oh, we're gonna be reading from the storage. Let's uncomment this guy. So we literally need that the message value is the same as product.price. Yeah. And if that doesn't happen, we will just say invalid amount sent for product or something. And that won't tell the user whether they sent too little or too much, but there's a security feature, so we're not gonna bother that. Now, we also wanna make sure that the person who's buying the product is not the person who is trying to sell it, because that's like a churning type of thing. All right, so next up, what you wanna make sure is that the item hasn't been purchased before. How do we do that, you ask? So remember, when we get started, the buyer is going to be the 0 guy. So we also need that the product, the buyer, equals that address 0. Because if it doesn't, it means that somebody else has already purchased the item. Does that make sense? So if product, the buyer, has to be that 0 guy. Because if it isn't, that means somebody purchased this item. So item has been bought, or something like that. I don't know. I'm just gonna say that, whatever that was. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're gonna go with for now. And so next up, you also don't want to buy your own stuff. So message.sender cannot be equal to product.seller. And so, yeah, seller cannot buy their own product. And we could just eliminate all these typos. All right. So these are basically the guard clauses that we're gonna be rolling with for now. This should be pretty much enough for us to go for. Now, at that point, you wanna transfer over that item. But before you do that, you want to make sure that the product is paid for. So here's where the payable comes in. Product.seller is going to be the person that receives the amount of money. And you wanna transfer that amount, which is the message, the value. So basically what this does is this person will get this much, in short. All right, so that being said, we should technically be pretty good to go and move on to redeploy this contract onto our test server and then test it out once again. So let's do that. Let's go into our Ethereum. Let's go into our remix guy, hit activate, and let's see what do we got. Oh yeah, nice, the output thing came up. So there's like all this like history and stuff. I'm just gonna go ahead and delete that because we don't need any of that. Same for that, same for the output cleaning. Let's just go ahead and hit compile and wait for it to pass. Oh, compilation finished, nice. So that's pretty good. And I'm just gonna go ahead and hit deploy, yada yada. So there it is. Okay, there's a couple of things that are going on in here. The Remix IDE is now recognizing our new contract. So get number of products 0, that makes sense. So we're gonna say first product to sell or for sale. Description, we're gonna have a category. It don't really matter, it really doesn't actually. Image URL, and we're going to set, I'm just gonna say 10 because that's going to be like very visual in our ganache. So what we're going to be expecting to do is that this account sells the item for 10 Ethereum to this account. So I'm expecting that this balance will go down to 89 Ethereum and this will go up to 69 Ethereum. All right, let's do that. And then rating is 5. Obviously, we only sell the best stuff. Nice. So there's that. And so now what I'm gonna be doing is just double check that we have the 0th item. There you go, price 10, noise. So how do we purchase with this guy? So first of all, you wanna change the account that's going to be interacting with the contract. So we are in purchase mode now. And what we wanna do now is we're gonna say purchase item 0. You wanna put the 0 in there, but don't hit it yet. And here, oh, I think we put the price in way. I believe so. Maybe not. Let's see. That's probably in 10 way. We'll see in a little bit. So if I just put in 10, there you go. Oh, I just deployed it again. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and transact, and it apparently went through. Now, nothing really happened here. Wait. We should technically have purchased this item. I'm just going to clean my input and let's go ahead and check on the new product again. So we see that the seller is still that person, but the buyer is this guy. And so even though we expected this to change, this actually didn't. Because when you put in 10 here into this price thingy, the contract is always talking in, or like always expects these numbers, or like whenever we are talking about values in way. So what is way is like a super small amount basically. So we're gonna say ETH converter, Ethereum unit converted, eth-converter.com. So basically what you wanna do is put in 10 here, and if you want something to cost 10 Ether, you will want to list it at this price. It's just like dollars and pennies and cents and whatever. So that's basically what it is. So you want to copy that guy, head back right here. And so to be able to double check what is happening, I'm just going to delete everything once again, go back to my original account and compile it again because that never hurts. Deploy this guy again because that doesn't hurt either. And then go back into my eBay, and then I'm just gonna say product because I'm gonna make it fast. Description, category, price, img URL, and then price. I'll just paste that guy there, and I hit 5 on rating. Transact, nice, it went through. Clear this, call number of items. We have 1 item in there, 0. Call that guy. And we can see that's the price. So we can either copy that and paste it here in the value, or we can just go ahead and type in 10, but then select Ether. And then you just want to hit 0 there and change the account to the buyer account, and now hit transact. Boom. So that apparently went. Let's see what do we got on here. So as you can, as I explained earlier, and then put in the wrong price, but now with the new price, this went down by 10 Ethereum and this went up by 10 Ethereum. So like rewind back if you don't believe me, because I literally have video proof of this. So that's basically how our thing works. And by the way, if I want to buy it again, it is, first of all, I didn't specify the amount, so I'm just gonna put in 10 Ether again, so it cannot send that back, but then it says item has been bought. And then if I wanna check the other error, and then I put in 10, transact again, item has been bought. So like there's a bunch of checks that are going through here, and because the item has been bought, actually we will not see the seller cannot buy their own item, but like you can just create a new item, try to buy it with the seller, and then that will pop up. So that is basically creating the contract and then testing it out. That should technically have given you a pretty good understanding of how this whole thing works and what we're going to be interacting with throughout this build. So with that said, I'm just gonna go ahead now and let's deploy this guy. All right, now that brings us to our contract deployment. So let's go ahead, and at this point, there's another extension that we're gonna install. So it's called Truffle. Where am I even typing? So there it is, Truffle. Now, this is the exact one you want to install. So Truffle for VS Code. This will add this guy right here. And so this is going to be your Truffle. Now, here, what you will need to do is, if you have any kind of other projects, a link to it, or maybe not, what you can do is you can just say connect to network, and then just hit Infura service. And then if it's your first time using this extension, it will pop open your browser, and that will let you connect to Infura. But however, if you don't have that, or however, if you've used it already, it will just fetch all the projects that you've worked on before. So in my case, I just connected the wrong project again. So let's just repeat that one more time. So we're gonna go with Infura and then hit eBay clone. So now that we have eBay there, that will basically enable us to go ahead and deploy everything through Infura's RPC URL to the Goerli network. Now, what that will enable us to do is if I go back right here and then I right click the eBay clone and then I go ahead and hit build contract, that will pop open and it literally just said everything is up to date, yada yada, finished. Okay, that's pretty good. It's because we already compiled it with the remix. So I'm just gonna go ahead and remove the artifacts folder. And now, because it already recognized that, oh, we built it one more time, there's another option that we can generate the API, which we'll need, is just by typing in truffle compile. So there's that. And with that, it just created a new build contracts folder, and this is your API that we're going to be using later on in the build. You know what, while we're at it, let's just go ahead, copy this file, and then go back to utils under next app, and then just paste it there. It's going to be helpful. Let's just do that. It doesn't take much time. Now what you want to do next up is go ahead and hit deploy contract. Okay. So once you hit that will basically just give you a bunch of options on like where you can go ahead and deploy it. So step one, we're gonna go ahead and deploy it on Goerli. Hey, what did I just do? Deploy, Goerli, there you go. Now we wanna leave the gas price completely alone and empty, that's fine. And at this point, you can go ahead and paste your mnemonic or generate a new mnemonic. Now, if you generate a new mnemonic, that will not have any kind of Goerli ETH on it. However, if you already have a Metamask that is connected to the Goerli network and you unlock it, see, I have 7.3 Goerli ETH, so that's pretty good. I can get that mnemonic from going here, settings, advanced, not advanced, maybe security, yeah, and reveal secret, recover a phrase. So if I hit that, I'm not gonna, but if I hit, that'll show me my mnemonic, and then you can just paste it there, and then it will generate you this env thingy. Now I've already done that, so I'm not gonna do it again. But if I was to do it, it would generate me a new one like this. So I'm just gonna use the one that I already saved. And when you click that, it'll take a little bit of a time to get started with this thing. Now you want to definitely check your notifications, because that's where this HD wallet provider thingy is going to pop up. So you want to install that the first time when you're deploying something. So that'll take a little bit of time, and then after that you are going to go ahead and deploy everything for you. It still looks a little interesting to me, so we're just gonna go ahead and try this one more time. Now, so the reason why it doesn't give you anything besides, oh yeah, it's deployed, is because we don't have the migration set up. So let's actually go ahead and do that. Now the way it works is you want to go into your migrations folder and create a new file that you will call one_deploy.js or whatever. And in here, you want to import eBay from the artifacts, art.acquire, and then you put in eBay. Now, this has to match with the name of the contract, so you want to double check that. If you were to be a rebel that uses different naming, I know I used to be one. And then you go ahead and say module exports, async function deployer, and then wait deployer.deploy eBay. A lot of deploys, deploy. All right, now you're gonna go ahead. I like to clean my output a lot of the times because it just clogs up and then don't know what ends where. And now we can go ahead and hit deploy once again. And when this guy runs through and finishes off, oh, it's still deploying. Okay, so because it's a testnet, it actually takes quite a lot of time to deploy, so that's completely fine. It's running through a bunch of blocks, so there's that. Whenever it's done, it's gonna say deploy succeeded. Now you wanna scroll up to contract address, and this is your contract address. So just to double check, let's go on to my Safari. I'm gonna say Goerli.etherscan.io. And that's the official Etherscan. And there you go. Now, as you can see, done. I just deployed this contract. And if I'm not mistaken, that's going to be my wallet address. Let's see. Yup, that's it. That's that. There you go. Now you just deploy it to Goerli. Now, the next step, we're going to deploy it to our Ganache as well. Why? It's a pretty valid question. Reason why we deploy it to Ganache and Goerli as well is because we're not going to be changing anything on the contract. So like right now, we're just going to deploy it to Goerli, and then we're going to deploy it to Ganache, but we're going to use Ganache throughout the build and while we build it, because Goerli is a slow network compared to Ganache. When it runs on your local network, it's always going to be faster. It's always going to be a better developer experience, and I want to speed through this build. At the end or after the tutorial, feel free to go save this somewhere. Like you want to definitely go ahead and save it in your constants, and then be like, oh, I don't know. You want to be export const contract address or something like that. So export const address, and then you just want to put it there. But I'm just gonna comment it out for now, because we're going to, once again, as I said, deploy it to Ganache. And then after the build is done, and then you take down Ganache, you can just swap out the address, and then just make sure you connect to Goerli, and you should be good to go switching networks. So once again, I'm gonna go ahead, delete or empty out my output, and then go ahead and deploy this guy. Now I'm gonna type in local, and that should be good. And as you can see, it is like way faster. Like it's already done. This is why we're gonna use Ganache. So now I'm just gonna type in export const address once again, bam, and then you can put Goerli after this, and oops, Ganache after this. And so that way you're like not gonna mess up what's what. Now, the next thing that we will be doing is, you should have already installed with the CLI. You didn't have to do anything, but you already have access to Web3 from Web3. You want to go ahead and import the ABI from this JSON. Let's do that too. So what you will say is contract ABI from eBay.json. Nice. So next up, what we will be doing is going to say const Ethereum from window. So basically this just destructures Ethereum from window. Window is literally all the code that's running in your browser, and then Ethereum is just a part of it. So when you destructure it, you will have a variable called Ethereum. All right, next you're gonna say if Ethereum, but not with an exclamation point. So if you have Ethereum, you want to go ahead and say const web3 equals new web3, and then put in Ethereum right there. And then you want to return new web3.eth, that, exactly this. New web3.eth.contract, and then pass in the ABI and the address. Now, the one thing sometimes people forget is the ABI file itself has a bunch of things that are going on in there. So there's like contract name, there's the ABI, that's exactly what, and then like there's all this metadata and the random stuff that's going on. Yeah, like all this stuff that like your app doesn't even need to worry about. Now, option A, what you can do is delete all this stuff, but I prefer not to do that, and instead it's just an easier solution to just contract ABI.ABI, and that literally takes care of the entire thing, and that's it. You're good to go. So with that said, that is basically the deployment. And now let's go ahead and create a nice little connect MetaMask button. All right, so I was told that this is the time that we go ahead and connect our MetaMask to this application. So to do that, you want to go into your app.js file. Now, this is a bunch of things already imported. So now we're just going to import a few more things. So first of all, we're going to be importing is just a style file, styling. So from Rainbow Kit, you want to go ahead and import styles.css. It's their own specific styling. And then you want to go ahead and import chain. You want to import configure chains. You also want to import create client. Yup. And then wagme config here from wagme. You thought it was gonna be rainbow, and then that's pretty much it. Oh wait, no, there's one more thing. So we're gonna be importing get default wallets and Rainbow Kit provider and a dark theme from that Rainbow Me / Rainbow Kit. And then you want to import two more things. One of them is going to be the Infura provider from wagme / provider / Infura. And you also want to import the JSON RPC provider from the same place, or like almost. Now that suggestion was not good. It's actually JSON RPC like that. So not -RPC. Okay. So once you have these, now we're gonna go ahead and set up a bunch of stuff. Now with that done, let's go ahead and configure all the stuff that's going to be allowed as a user. So like basically all the chains that the user will be able to connect to and all the providers for those chains. We're gonna have chains and we're gonna have provider, and this is like not from anymore. So we're gonna have configure chains, and we are actually gonna have two arrays in here. So in the first array, we're just gonna say chain.Goerli and chain.localhost. That's what we're gonna be coding. And then next up, we're gonna have the Infura provider, which is going to have an API key. And for a little bit, I'm just gonna leave it empty, but yeah. And then we also wanna make sure that the priority on this one is the highest. So basically, there's gonna be two providers in here, because we imported two. There's going to be Infura provider and there's going to be RPC provider, the JSON RPC. What we're going to do is whichever chains a user selects, we want to make sure we use Infura primarily. However, if they don't support that specific chain, then we're going to have this JSON RPC, which is just literally the most custom RPC provider out there. So next up, let's configure that secondary provider, and that's going to be the JSON RPC provider. And we're gonna have to put in a few things. So first of all, priority 2. That's a secondary provider in this case. And then RPC is going to be, we're gonna pass in chain, and we're gonna go ahead and type in HTTP And then once again, you want to put in this specific RPC address. I'm not even gonna say it out because I didn't even want to say it out. And that should basically wrap up all the providers that we got out here. So these will be used in a little bit. Now, I just want to like jump back right here to the Infura one. And if you remember, right at the very beginning of this app, we actually saved our Infura API key here in the .env. So you want to go ahead, copy that name, and then come back right here, and then you want to say process.env and then just paste whatever name you gave it, and it should be good to go. Now, one more thing, you want to always restart the server, so you just want to run yarn dev again, and that would allow the application to read the env file. It probably already has, but just in case it doesn't, sometimes it helps, and it's just like a safety measure. Okay. So next up, what you will want to do is you want to create a new const, which is where we will destructure connectors from. Connectors, and it equals get default wallets, like that. And now we're gonna say app name. It's not even Instagram, it's eBay. And we're gonna say app name eBay. And then we're gonna literally just gonna pass in all the chains. We're just gonna pass in all the chains that we provided here. So basically, these are gonna be the only chains the user will be able to choose from when they are interacting with our app. And then next up, we're gonna have a wagme config, and that'll be a create, and then we're just gonna go ahead and create the client with this specific function. And then we wanna pass in auto connect, make it true. You wanna pass in right after that connectors, and then you want to pass in provider, and that should pretty much wrap up our setup for this MetaMask connection. Now, there's a couple more things. It's not that easy. So come here, like I'll just command X on it so I can just paste it back and whatever. So once again, copy that, yep. And then I'm gonna say wagme config and just say client, and then pass in wagme config. Hey, config, like that. So that closed, nice. And now I want to say rainbow kit provider, and then theme, dark theme. That's pretty cool. And you can also enable cool mode. Now, in that case, you will probably have to import it. Yeah, so let's import cool mode. Maybe you don't have to. Interesting. Okay. So we'll see if we have to import cool mode. Anyways, it's just like a nice animation. That's all it is. It's not that important. But before everything, you want to make sure you pass in like into the chain selector, like all the chains. That's pretty much how it's supposed to look like. And now in between all this, you just paste that component thingy right back. And now we should technically have access to all the connection. Now, there's one more thing that we will need to do, and that's going to be in our index.js file. Now in here, you want to go ahead and import connect button from Rainbow Me. All right, so we got that, copy that guy, and then right under here on line 2030, you want to put in connect button, and that should enable, yup, there you go. There is your connect button. So that's pretty much the connection. I'll show you guys what cool mode is, if it enabled itself or if it didn't. We'll see. Hit that. There, that was cool mode. That little animation, that was cool mode. I'll show it once again, because see? And now it won't do it because I canceled it once, but there you go, that's cool mode. Hit retry and hit connect, and there you go. That is your MetaMask connection. You just build it, it is done. It is so done, it couldn't be any more done. It is the most done MetaMask connection in the done MetaMask connections history, whatever, leave it. So with that said, we're pretty much good to go to get started connecting the actual contract to the front end. With that said, I'll see you right there. Okay, so it is time to go ahead and start connecting our stuff. So we're gonna be doing mainly all kinds of connections in the context. So let's go ahead, create a context folder. And then inside there, you wanna create a context.js file. And let's go ahead and start importing stuff. So we wanna definitely import create context. We wanna import use state, use effect, and use context like that from React, all of it. And then while you're at it, go ahead and import use account from WagMe, which is just a super nice and easy way to get all the account details. So yeah, there's that. And then you want to import Web3 with a capital W from Web3 with a not capital W. And then you also want to go ahead and import create tract from utils and constants, which is, by the way, this exact function that we created earlier. So we already built that. All right. So you want to type it, you want to go ahead and actually start creating the contract over here. No, context. So you want to say context and go ahead, say create context. And then next up, export const, and it's going to be app provider. And that will have this children thing in between. Children. That's pretty good. And then create the function itself. Now, what's happening here? I think, okay, there you go. And then that will basically return stuff. So let's go ahead and return. Actually, before we return anything, let's do the test file or the test variable equals test, whatever. And now we're gonna return stuff. Return. And you want to say app context dot, not contest, jeez, dot provider, yeah, and then value, as like Gary would say it. I'm gonna say test and close that bad boy, and then just pop in chilled right there. So that technically should be pretty much good to go in terms of a context thing. Now what you want to do is just make it like we're gonna set up one more thing that's gonna make it just as much more easier. So you want to say export const use app context, just like it suggests right there. And you just want to return use context and then pass an app context. And basically what that will allow you to do is you will have to import, I believe, less, and it would just made a hook out of it. Oh, that's literally what happened. Okay, let's go back to our app.js file. And in our app.js file, what we will do next up is go ahead and import the app provider. So I'm just gonna go up here and make it like separate. So there you go, app provider. And this bad boy, I'll just put it like right here, like right around the component. Actually, we should be putting it outside of RainbowKit. Reason is, RainbowKit might use stuff that is available in the provider, so you wanna allow that connection to happen. And that's basically, what did I do? App contest? For real? Okay, that should have fixed it. Nice. And just to test out this context thingy, you want to open up your console. And then inside of index.js, you can go ahead and import use app context from context like that. And then down here, just go ahead and destructure test from the use app context thingy. And then you'll just want to go ahead and console.log test. And if it says test in here, our console, as it does, and my friends, you literally just created a perfect context, and you graduated to move to the next step of this tutorial. So congratulations on that. If not, just double check that everything that we set up here in the context and in the app.js file is correct. And then let's move on. Before we actually move on, I'll just remove all this test related stuff because we don't need any of that. You can close the app.js file, remove that guy. And then for a little bit, we're gonna be working inside our app provider or inside our context. We'll build a couple of functions and it will be done in a matter of no time. I'll see you soon. Time to sell some products. And what we're going to be using for that is our context. So let's go ahead and get started setting a few things up here. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a couple of use states. So there's going to be a contract, set contract, yeah, like that. And then use state's null. And then we're going to say we're going to have a user address, set user address, just like that. Might as well save it from typos. And then one more, which is going to be product and set product. These are all going to be used later on in the app. First of all, this is going to be used. This is where we're going to be storing our contract instance that we are generating with this guy. Next up, we're going to have a user address, which is we are going to be like saving like straight away. So let's actually do that like right now. So const address and equals use account. Let's destructure that bad boy. And while we are at it, let's go ahead and set up a use effect that'll actually save it. So whenever address changes, what we're going to do is say set user address to address. And we just addressed this situation. All right. Now what we're going to do is, before we move any further, we should just go ahead and set up the contract situation as well. So set contract, open this guy, and then create we don't have to pass in that address because that's not that address, that's a different address. We have access to that address. So once this guy returns its thing, it will be set into this contract thingy. So basically every time you open up the app, you will have access to all the contract connections immediately. So that's good. That's pretty good. We are good there. Now, you want to go ahead and create a function which we'll call sell item. Now, actually, let's just go ahead and let's figure out what we are going to be. What are we going to need for this? So there, create so we will be calling this new product thing function. And we will have to pass in name, description, category, email, price, email, image URL, and rating. All these, we'll have to pass them in. So we'll have to account for all that. I'm just gonna leave this on the side, just like a little peek. So it like reminds us for that. Okay, let's do this with an async function because this is gonna be an asynchronous situation. And from the front end, we're gonna pass in name, we're gonna pass in description. We're gonna pass in category. We're gonna pass in image, URL. We're gonna pass in price and rating. So basically everything. Close that bad boy. Little arrow thing and open the paren. Now, thank you Prettier for making my code look nice. Now I want to make sure that before any kind of interaction happens with the contract, there's like the contract actually exists. So return. It's like guard clause. And then if that checks out, you want to have a try catch functionality, which will catch any kind of error that happens and then just console logs it out. Console error, actually. Let's just put that there and then we can forget about that. So error handling, nice. Next up, try. So what we're going to be doing is immediately, because remember what we did with the contract? We expected that it was going to be in Ethereum or in Ether, but that's not reality. Contract works with Way, and nobody's going to type up that many zeros. So we're gonna say price in Way, and we're just gonna convert it. And we're gonna be like, okay, and luckily Web3.js has this built in, so we can call that web3.utils.toWay thing function. We just pass in price and then pass in the currency that we wanted back in. So in this case, it's Ether. Sorry, the other way around. We pass in the price in Ether, and because it's Ether, we tell them like what's the initial values currency, and because it's Ether, it's gonna be stored in Way right here. And then we're gonna go ahead and wait contract methods, and this is where we actually go ahead and call the list new product function. And so that requires, once again, name, requires description. What was that? Description requires category, probably everything that we have here. Description. Like, I could type it out once, but I couldn't type it out for the second time. That's fine. Name, description, category, image URL, price, rating. Let's just double check it here as well. I think we should be pretty much good to go here. Now, oh my God. Copilot is so nice. It like added this part as well. So I'm just gonna explain it now. So far, this is how far we went. And so because we are creating and adding data onto the blockchain, like we want to store something on the blockchain, you gotta pay for it. All right, nothing is free in the Web3 world. So before we can actually wrap this function up, and as Copilot was already suggesting, we have to send in some Ether. And that's going to be coming from the user address, which we already have saved, it in here. And then there's a couple more things, like you want to set the gas fees to this number, which is 3, and then this is basically 3 million. All right. And then I'm gonna set gas price to null. These are like optimization stuff, so it like the transaction is gonna be more optimized. Nice. That's basically what we are cooking with right now, and that should technically list every new item that we throw at it. So let's go ahead and connect this to our create button right here. So far, actually not even the create button, I was wrong. This list item thing. So if you check, this should technically already work, because that's how our project comes. So you want to go ahead and go into the model file. Modal. I'm going to go ahead and go into the modal file. So once you entered your modal file, you're going to go ahead and import the user context thingy, and then destructure cell item out of it. Now, if you actually have one brain cell like I don't, if we don't export this from our context, we're not going to be able to import it anywhere else. So, all right, we are all here to learn and improve, myself included. So you got the cell item function. Oh, that's pretty cool. Here's our handle submit function, which is already connected to the button. Nice. And so what you want to do is, before we move any further, you want to go ahead and say event.prevent default. And what that will do is, like, it will prevent the website from refreshing whenever you hit that button. Sometimes you like need it, it's like a React thing. So we're gonna be using that. And so next up, if there is no if any of these fields that are required basically for this transaction to go through, meaning name, description, category, price, and or rating, any of them, those are the pipes though. All of them say not name or not description, like that's how you like read it out. If any of them don't exist or return a falsy value, which is an empty string is a falsy value, then we're gonna display a toast error message, which we already set up for you, and we're just gonna return, and we don't even want to like continue the process. So see, how cool is that? That's pretty cool if you ask me. So that's there's that. Now, if however we're good on that end and that doesn't happen, else, we can just say else, we can say toast dot promise. And the reason why we're doing toast dot promise and not like a regular JavaScript promise is because the toast thing is going to keep loading as long as our promise is not successful. So we're gonna have the toast handle our async function, and then our async function, as long as as soon as it checks out, our toast is going to turn into a little nice check mark. So let's do that. So toast.promise, and we're going to say cell item and pass in all the stuff that we need to pass in. So name, description, category, image URL, yada yada yada. And then next up, we're going to pass in a little bit of a function, and that'll basically just change the toast message all the time. So as long as it's loading, we're going to be like listing in progress, please wait, and then maybe an hourglass emoji or something that like makes it nice. And then next up, we can just define the success, and then and you can be like, okay, item listed successfully. And if there's some sort of error and error listing item, please try again, whatever. And with some nice little emoji play, we should be good to go. So let's go ahead and try that. It should, in theory, work. If it doesn't, then probably made a mistake somewhere along the way. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and search for a rug. And let's just grab an image, whatever. This looks pretty good. This is a puffy rug. Shout out Puffy Mattresses for providing us with the image. This is free marketing for them. Nice. So we're just gonna call it a puffy rug. And once again, shout out for Puffy Mattress. Puffy Mattress. All right, let's go ahead and upload this image right there. Shout out internet speed. Nice, you can crop it down, whatever. Don't even worry about that. Okay, so it immediately says set image URL is not defined. That's interesting. Okay, so that means that for whatever this use state is like not set up. Interesting. Okay. Meaning that some stuff was like, hello, now there it is. What do you mean it's not there? And you want to definitely put that guy in there. So if the img URL doesn't exist, that should make it fail too. However, we are passing it in here. Yeah, this is the like one of the biggest drawbacks of using stuff like Copilot, because you'll just look over a couple of mistakes that you're making along the way. I mean, I'm glad we like have this here. That's helpful. All right, let's start again. Puffy rug. And shout out Puffy Mattress. Oh, yeah, double T. Guess who failed their English classes? Not me though. So put that guy there. Shout out internet speed. And hit done. Okay, there's no issue there. And then let's go type in perfect for rug pulls. Ha, pun intended. Category, rug, whatever, price. This is how when you like literally want to start becoming more and more careful with what you put in as price, and also want to like switch to the local host networks like Ganache. Nice, because otherwise it will try to put them to Goerli, but we're not. But this address is not on Goerli, so it would fail again. So once again, price. Okay, actually here you can put like bigger numbers. So I'm just gonna go with 0.1, and then rating. Obviously, it's a 5 out of 5. Go ahead, hit confirm on that guy, and items successfully listed. Now the only problem is we don't see it, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and make that happen. All right, so we got the selling done. This is now time we go ahead and display all the items that are like listed for sale. So let's go back right here. As we can see, the product state is like still like empty. And if we go back to index, we also have this dummy products array, so like the app doesn't break. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to destructure products from use app context, and that way I technically change that dummy empty array to the array that we are going to be fetching from. And let's get rid of all those rugs and stuff like that. Okay, that's fine there. So now it says products map, it says undefined. Okay, that's because wait. Oh, of course, duh. Once again, if you don't export, you can't import. It's like a pretty good. All right, there you go. Now the error is away. Has gone away. All right, and so to get started fetching, we are going to be creating a new function that is going to go ahead and get all the items for us. So how's it gonna look like? Let's do it like right under here. So it's gonna be get all items. And it's gonna be an async function, nothing to input, and yeah. So before we do anything, yeah, if there's no contract, that thus far it's correct. Like there's no contract, then we should just like return, and then like you can add like custom toast messages, whatever, like error getting items, whatever. I'm not gonna do it because it would just take up time, and I already showed you how to. And then next up, what you wouldn't do is like, before all that, like literally before anything, set products to empty. The reason for that is if there is no contract, then you want the products to be like a safe empty array that like will not break the map. And if the contract changes, you want to wipe out all the old stuff from the old contract, and then the new stuff can come in. And whenever you refresh it, we're going to be using the .push method. Yeah, I believe that's an array method. So we're going to be using the .push method, and we don't want to mess our things up and don't want that same product to show up twice or 3 times or whatever. Okay, so with all that out of the way, we're going to have a nice little try-catch function. Next up, what we're going to be doing is say const product count equals weight. So basically what we're going to be doing, just to walk you through at a high level, let's go to the sol file, is we're going to go ahead and fetch this. That way we are going to know how many products are there. And then what we're going to do then is we're going to have a loop that goes through this mapping and fetches each item one by one. So what we're going to do is say contract methods dot, and what was the function name again? It was get number of products. So that's what we want to call. We don't need all that random file. So let's just paste that there. Function thingy call and call it. And we should be good. So we have a number there. The await thing is going to hold back the line until that resolves itself. So we should be good there. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to start with a plain and simple for loop. We're just going to say index equals 0 semicolon until index is smaller than product count semicolon and indexless, and then open close whatever curly braces are there, and then say const product equals await contract dot methods dot, and which one are we going for? I don't know which one are we going for. Dot methods, and let's see which one are we getting, because we're going to be using the built-in function of this methods thing, as if you remember when we did the Ethereum remix stuff. Let me just show you. Yeah, connect that guy. Whatever. So if you remember, we had this guy. This is what we're going to be using. All right. Based on that, we're going to say products and then pass in a bunch of things. So what we're going to be doing is say products and then pass in index and then just call it. That should be our product. And so now we're going to format this, because if you remember, we get back all the data like twice. So there's no need for that. So we're going to format it a little bit so it just looks a little nicer. Actually, let me just go ahead and console log the product, just so you remember what I was talking about. Oh, if nobody calls this function, it's not going to run. Let's actually set up a other use effect like that. Paste that bad boy there, call it, and whenever contract changes, we're going to call that. Now, if contract doesn't exist, this whole thing is going to kick it off and we won't have any kind of errors. So let's see what we got. Let's refresh this guy. And there you go. There is our item. So this is what we are going to make a ton nicer. Like it just looks nasty how there's like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, blah, whatever. Nah, this is not good. So we just want to strip out this piece of the object and then just like make a nice looking array out of that. So let's do that now. And that's why we are creating this formatted product thingy. So we're going to create a new object, which will have an ID, which is going to be product ID. We're going to have a buyer. I said buyer, which is going to be product.buyer, buyer, like that. And then seller, product.seller, name, description. We're going to have category, image URL, and price. Now, remember, in the Solidity contract, we are only working with way numbers. So there are like multiple ways you can convert between way and ether. I just prefer doing it on the front end, just because like the audience and Ethereum and Solidity is like super, like in the early days, the baby steps. It's the dawn of Web3. So let's just stay where we are like more comfortable with stuff. And so we're going to convert everything on the front. And plus Web3 JS is like making it like way too easy. Like it should be like almost illegal at this point. Anyways, we're getting back the price in way and we want to convert it into ethers or ether. So that's what we're doing here. And so that's pretty good. And then we have one more thing, which is the rating. Now, let me actually console log the, because I'm lazy. I don't want to type all that. Formatted product, nice. Let's see the difference between the two. So here's the ugly one. We don't like that. And then number 2, so much nicer. There you go. So you're welcome. That's why you're using random stuff, random like formatting things in the middle of our context. And then, yeah, once that's good to go, what you want to do is say set product, and my assistant, Mr. Copilot, is helping me with this. Basically what you want to do is get the set products function from this use state. That keeps track of the previous, actually it shouldn't be previous product. I don't like when it like calls it like that. So we should just call it previous state, all right? It should be previous state. There you go. That should in theory show us all the stuff we got. Now, one interesting thing though, why does it say item bought? I haven't even bought it. What do you mean I bought it? That's probably just hooked up to a template function, so don't even worry about it. Okay, so you might be wondering, David, what is going on here in the first place? Why am I not seeing all my images? Like I literally uploaded them. And if you still have the console log turned on, yeah, this is undefined, but actually, I just spent a little bit of a time and traced it back, and we are doing everything correctly except for one thing. Now, if you look at it, like how are we even saving this stuff? Or how is it even being saved? It is img URL, and we are trying to destructure image URL. Once again, we looked it over, or like I personally looked it over because I'm using Copilot. So again, there's a lot of negatives to it. It's not gonna put us out of our job. I'm pretty sure. After these two, I'm feeling pretty safe. Let's refresh. Let's see what do we got. Now we have the image URL. Now the only question is, why do we not see it? It's probably because we should be saving it like that. All right, there you go. So with that literal two changes that we just did from image to img, which is just short for image. Once you change that, it apparently starts working. So that's how we set up the template. I completely forgot about it, and we also are using Copilot to help me out with typing. So there's that. Now with that all said and done, it is time we go ahead and purchase these items, and we're technically done with the build. I'll see you there. All right, we actually got through the very final part of this build, which is purchasing these items. So before we actually get into that, I just want to clear out all the console logs. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I don't like them. Like it's good as long as we're building stuff, but then it like gets annoying and clogs up my console. So I like to keep that clean. I'm a clean dude. We are going to be creating a new function down below here, which we're gonna call by product, which is the byproduct of me being funny. Hey! Anyways, we're gonna pass in this ID, which is going to be the product ID that is going to be coming from the front end. So let's do that. Oh, why is it? Oh, there's the error. Okay. So with that said, now we also want to get the usual guard clause. So if there is no contract, then we just want to return with all the toasting stuff. So again, a usual try catch, and then let's catch the error, and then console.error that error. I hope that made sense. That was like a pretty good sentence. Moving on. If we have the contract, we are going to go ahead and try to get the price. So what we're going to be doing is here, get what the price is. We need to know how much the product costs, all right? And we don't really trust the front end to tell us what it costs, because that can be manipulated pretty easily. So instead what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and fetch the contract again for it. So we're going to say contract.methods.product ID, and then we're just going to call it. And then once we called it, we will, technically isn't the price, but we're just gonna, you know what, let's just actually name it. So product. So that will be the product. And then we will use that to get the price. All right. So what is going to happen now is we're going to say wait. And then we're just like straight into calling the purchase method. And so let's see how we actually named it here. So it is called purchase item. Now, purchase item. And then we will have to just pass in the ID. That's all we need to pass in. However, when we send it in, this is where we need to specify the actual purchase price of the product that we are sending in. So this is where we're going to be using this line of code. Now, open close paren, open this new object, and we're gonna say from and a user address, which we already have access to. You know what? While we're at it, even though it's like unlikely that it will ever happen, that this doesn't exist and the contract doesn't exist, because somewhere I believe, oh wait, hold on. Whenever here, actually never mind. You know what? Let's just put it in the guard clause. It's not gonna hurt there. It's fine. So we're gonna be like, okay, contract address or user address. So whoever is logged in, that's the person that will have to pay for the product. We're gonna give it like the general 3 million gas, which is like 3 million whey, I believe. And then we're gonna say gas price null. And then we're gonna say value, because in this case we have to specify the value. And out here, we actually got the price of that product. Like we got the product. So, and we just wanna get the price of that specific product, and that will be the value. So it's like way harder for any kind of like malicious intent, like any kind of person with malicious intent to like tamper with this specific transaction. And that should be pretty much it. Now, we're gonna export it because I messed it up and forgot to export it twice. And what we're gonna be doing is, I believe so, it's in product.js where we will be calling it. So what we're gonna do here is we're going to go ahead and import use app context. And then, yeah, I have all this template function there, but we don't need this anymore. Instead, we are just going to destructure this. And right here, the toast is ready to handle everything, and it should be good to go. Let's see, what do we got? So on click, whenever we click one of these products, and I don't know why it does that. I think it's like, I save it, it like doubles it. Anyways, when you refresh it, it only shows up once. So that's pretty good. And then it says item bought. So that's interesting. It says reading length. Okay. That's weird. What are we dealing with? All right. Oh, hold on. And once you actually do that, technically this should be working. So let's go ahead and test this out. So if I refresh, I'm going to say, all right, my Metamask is popping up. It's $0. Well, that detail looks a little fishy to me. Okay, so there's this error. And it says the value doesn't seem to be checking out, I believe. Invalid amount sent for product. Huh, interesting. And so the reason why the price like wasn't really working is, if you think about it, like these are all async functions. If we are waiting here we literally awaited everywhere. I think I just forgot to put the await there. Let's see if that helped. And let's see if that worked. Wait. There's like a lot of transactions clogged up here. All right, let's go ahead and refresh. Click that. And there you go. There you go. Now you can see that the price is right there, 0.1 ETH. And then I'm going to confirm it. However, it literally just says the seller cannot buy their own product. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh here and then swap over to my other account like that. Connect. And that has like 69. Nice. ETH in there. And let's hit the second one. Confirm, there's the price and item bought. Now this one is successful. So that pretty much wraps up this entire build. You are able to now list and sell items using the blockchain, using the Ethereum blockchain. And then once again, if you want to send this to your friends, deploy it to anywhere, you can just comment that line out and comment this line like back out. So that's going to be the valid line. And now this application is living on the Goerli network. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.